Hi, I'm Devin from Careerified. Welcome to my backyard. Since I love winter weather and it is the first full week of the new year, I thought we'd switch it up a little bit. And it'll get too cold to do this eventually. So may as well take advantage now. I even mic'd up so you can't hear the traffic flowing behind me because I do live near a major road. So this week I wanted to talk a little bit about post-secondary applications. Hopefully it's not news to you that 'tis the season for post-secondary applications. If your kids are applying to university direct from high school, applications are due next week on the 15th, at least in Ontario. And for the college system, the equal consideration deadline is February 1st. So I have two tips to share with you today to kind of smooth that process as much as possible. The first tip I want to share, and I cannot stress this enough, any questions you have about anything to do with the admission process, requirements, documentation required, you need to go directly to the admissions office. Even if you have maybe a friend, a family friend, or a family member, anybody you might know who may work at an institution that your kid is attending or interested in attending, you need to go to the admissions office. They're the ones who are administering the process and they're the ones who will have the most accurate information. So don't accept information from other people until you've confirmed it with the admissions office at your school of choice. That is my first tip and it cannot be stated enough. The other tip I wanted to share with you is kind of getting you away from sort of the TV movie version of college and university admissions. The publicly funded institutions in Ontario are bound by, certain laws and certain rules that make them accountable to the ministry. That's partly why you pay your taxes. So if your child does not meet admission requirements or they don't demonstrate by the deadline that they have met admission requirements or met whatever it is they're supposed to meet by that deadline, the schools are actually not allowed to make exceptions. So it's a little different, when you talk about the US schools, the privately funded schools, the Ivy Leagues, they can be a bit more flexible because they have less of those types of governmental rules in place. So when you see those stories on TV or movies where, the ragtag kid with the big heart who makes up in personality what he lacks in academics and he just makes an 11th hour pitch and they say, yes, you're in. That will not happen. That's not possible. So just be mindful of the fact that you do have to meet exactly the admissions requirements they're looking for. Each school will have an appeals process in place. So if you disagree with the admissions decision, then you can enact that process and they'll tell you what it is if you have questions. The one thing I will say is that's reserved for stuff like, say your transcript had an 80 on it, but their system identified it as a 60, so it dropped the average, so you didn't get in. That's a clerical error that they're like, oh yeah, okay, we can fix that. And that's what those processes are in place for. But your kids need to meet the requirements for the program to be admitted into the program. So those are my tips for this week. In the coming weeks, we'll be talking a little bit more about what if your kid did miss those deadlines? What if they don't meet the admission requirements? What are their alternate options? Kind of my jam. That's what we're going to be talking about in the upcoming weeks. In the meantime, if your kids are applying to school, I wish you and them all the best of luck. It's a very exciting process, but it's also very scary, right? They're taking their first steps into adulthood, and that's terrifying for everybody involved. So best of luck. Ask those questions to your admissions office if you have them, and keep trying hard at school. That's really the best tip I have at this stage of the game. I will see you next week. Maybe we'll be outside. Maybe we'll be back in the living room. We'll see what the weather's like. But you have a great day and take care. Thanks.